Right, welcome back to the podcast. Tonight, I normally say I've got the honour of I've got the honour of having such and such on the podcast. Now, we've recently listened to an audiobook called The Afghanistan Sniper by Ted Shirley, and I've got him on the show. And if anyone's not listened to that or read his book, I suggest that you could go out and get it on audiobook. He reads it himself, and in all honesty, I found it entertaining. You know, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass, mate, honestly.
No.
Right. But I did find it entertaining. You read that book really, really well. Anyway, enough of that.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Ted, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, mate.
Honestly, pleasure all mine, mate. Right, so it's the same questions that I ask everybody. So it's like, where did you grow up? Why did you join the military? What was it like? Why did you leave? And what have you done since? So if you just want to give us a bit of background about your growing up and then joining the military.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So I grew up on the North Wales coast, and it was a mega place to grow up. It was great. Always out, in the countryside, climbing hills or climbing trees or messing about in rivers and lakes and stuff. It was really good. But then from a young age, I had my mind set on a military career. My old man was in the Navy during the Falklands conflict, so I'd sort of heard all these stories and whatnot about the places you go, the people you see, the type of life it is, and I wanted a bit of that, definitely. I was never going to be a joiner or a bricklayer or anything like that. I haven't got the hand skills. But yeah, getting in the military, that was a bit of me. So, how old was I? 16 years old, come out of school and ended up going straight in the Royal Marines. That didn't last very long. I turned up and went, what the fuck is this? All these massive blokes covered in tattoos, ex-firemen and ex-policemen and stuff. And I was like, whoa, yeah, I'm not ready for this. So I ended up getting out, coming back home and realising I'd made a bloody big mistake. But then I joined the Royal Welsh Fusiliers, and that was where my sort of military career really began then. It was good. It was off to a good start. My first posting once I was in and into battalion was Cyprus, and that was good. It was great being in between Iron Apple and Paphos and going to either or on the weekends, even though we weren't supposed to go to Napa. But
everybody did.
Don't tell anyone.
I never did a tour of Cyprus. I only went there I did a leadership course.
I did
a Lance Jack's course there, and we had one night off at the end of it, and we went to Paphos.
Yeah.
And then we got banned from Paphos in one night.
Easily done.
It was a hell of a night. I put it this way: we ended up. There was motorbikes in the swimming pool. No beer left in the bar because they'd left the back door open. I'll say no more.
Yeah, don't incriminate yourself there, no.
No, it cost me a few quid the day after when I got dragged back up there with a blank check saying you've got to, but yeah, no, it's not my story. Go back a bit, going into training.
Yeah,
you'd have been I suppose you'd been quite prepared for that because you'd already had a stint out in the Marines. Did that help?
I've been training for years since I was really young. I've been running with weight and stuff like that. And when I got obviously going in the infantry up to Catterick, I got up there and fell straight into it. I loved it. Absolutely loved training. It was a challenge, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I just loved learning new stuff constantly, and every day I've grew closer and closer to achieving my dreams, I suppose. Then it all went tits up. So 2 weeks off passing out, we went on a battlefield tour. We got a ferry across to Europe, went around a few places. A numpty idea. leapfrogged one of the lads in the bar, and I didn't realise he was at the top of the stairs. So I just flew straight down these stairs and I broke my foot. Yeah, it wasn't clever. Did a week on the piss, came back, did my CFT as well, just bandaged my foot up and took loads of painkillers. But then after the CFT, there was no walking on it. It was buggered. So that ended up sending me back then 6 months to rehab that. It took ages. And then back in, started again, day one, week one. And luckily, a few weeks in, and our platoon commander spotted me in the cookhouse and managed to get me knocked forward a bit. So I've made it to Cyprus in time then to go on.
What year was it you joined?
That was 2006. And then made it to Cyprus early 2008.
Something I've mentioned quite a lot on this podcast is, I joined in 1985. Yes, I'm not old. And then, most of us who joined because there was fucking nothing else going on, right? Majority of people. When you joined, you knew that, the shit had already hit the fan and you were going to end up out there at some point.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. That was a big part of it. I wanted to do that. Yeah, I think things like, I spoke about this a bit, but things like 9/11, that was obviously prominent in my childhood there, just sort of coming of age, early teens, and that happened. And I think that because, terrorist was word of the day, it was on the news constantly, everyone was aware of it, it was in all the papers, on the paper round, I'd be seeing it, delivering it to people's houses. I was just surrounded by it. And I think being in a position where I'm the kind of person that wants to help people, it was inevitable. Never mind that, I'd already set my mind on wanting to do it, but that was kind of a few sort of really deciding factors that there was people that needed help. That's the way I saw it. And I was willing and capable of helping them. And that's where it all started, really.
So you're out in Cyprus. It's not. Is it a sunshine tour? Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. It was and it wasn't. We were sort of like parts of it where I didn't realise that until we got back from my first tour, which was Herrick 8. So as soon as I got to the battalion in Cyprus, it was pre-deployment training. We were going in a matter of.
So we used the resident battalion there. It wasn't like a UN tour or like that.
Yeah, no, we were the resident battalion there. Yeah, we were the QRF for Iraq and Afghan at the time for those few years. So the battalion had been mega busy over the past few years. They'd just been constantly on a rotation of Iraq and Afghan back and forth. So I got there, and everyone's sort of war hardened, looking the part. So yeah, I had to fit in real quick. But I did.
That was what I was going to ask. So a lot of people, when they've left training, joining the army, if you're not really prepared for it, it's quite daunting anyway. But then getting in a battalion, and especially with an infantry battalion, it's because it's a certain type of person, and I don't mean this derogatory, but it's a certain type of person who joins the infantry, and you get trained to be a certain, to do a certain. I'm in the artillery, right?
Right.
Call people up from a long way away. What I mean? It's not often we get up close and personal. So I think in 27 years, I did bayonet training once.
Right. Whereas, obviously in the infantry, that's bread and butter, isn't it?
Yeah. So you have a different mentality as well. I mean, it's like, comparing the REME to the paras. Do you know what I mean? It's. Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. We were sort of, we're fighting soldiers. And I got there and they'd already been doing a lot of fighting.
Did they, I won't say look down on you, or did they, like, you've really fucking, you've got to earn your crust here, kid?
In a way, yeah. There was, shit cunts weren't going to fit in well. So, yeah, there was definitely eyes on me. There was a few people that offered a wing or two for me to get under, and kind of showed me the ropes a bit, and that was appreciated. But I got in, I was fit, I was willing to do what needed to be done, and I had a good crack. And very, very quickly, I'd integrated myself, into daily life there. Really, I was sort of one of the boys, but still yet to prove myself on the battlefield. And that's kind of how it went, the pecking order.
Yeah, I mean, and at that time, that's the way it was. Most battalions were bringing new lads in and stuff like that. And I'd imagine there was a lot of, we'll fucking see what you're like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. And I get it. Yeah, as soon as I was sort of, before my second tour, I was doing it to the new guys. I was sort of eyeing them up and see, have you...
So, how soon was your first tour after you got your battalion in?
I think it was about 4 or 5 weeks, something like that. It was rapid. Yeah, it was real quick. So I'm getting there. I got to battalion, got to Cyprus in green kit. I've had no deserts. Got issued them about 3 days later. So spent a few days walking around like a tit in green kit in Cyprus, just standing out like a sore thumb. Just me and a couple of other lads. So then I got, issued stuff like chest rigs and, all this different kit that I'd not even seen before. And very quickly it was, off doing exercises and loads of lessons, obviously pre-deployment, loads of sort of casualty stuff, medic drills, whatnot. Radios, stuff I hadn't seen. So it was a massive learning curve for me at first to get there and sort of hit the ground running, and sort of be able to sort of take it all in, I suppose, like a sponge. I had to be a sponge, take absolutely everything in, find out who were the dangerous people you don't want to annoy, find out who you can learn stuff off. Yeah, and then before I knew it, honestly, it was like a blink of an eye, and we were on a flight. We were in Kateri Airport going.
Right, so like you first join the army, you've got an idea of what it's going to be like. Actually getting to Afghan and being in war. Was it anything you like what you thought or you imagined it was going to be?
Yeah and no, I suppose. Like, yes, it felt the way I was expecting it to feel. It was exciting and you were full of adrenaline, and I loved it. I loved it. It was great. I was finally doing this job that I'd spent the past couple of years trying to get to. So yeah, I kind of hit the ground running. It was interesting at first, I think, when I first got there and I was a new guy and seeing the other sort of, especially the senior blokes, not so much NCOs, but the senior bods that had been there and done it, and they were kind of showing me the way. I remember the first time seeing one of the lads just let rip a load of rounds from a mini-me as a warning shot. And I remember thinking, fucking hell, he's just done that off his own back. No one's had to tell him to do that. And that stuck with me then.
Yeah.
Right, I can make decisions here. I don't have to wait to be told to do something. And that was in the first couple of weeks. That was me then. I understood it. I understood that I could do what I'd been trained to do to, only a basic level at that point, but I could do it well. And it went from there then. And, it was a short tour. It was a 4-month tour because, again, mentioned earlier, we were the quick reaction force. So we were staying in a fob originally just outside a place called Musakala, which was a bit of a hotspot, quite a well-known place. But then we'd bounce around various different locations and get into scraps with the Taliban, and it was
what was
fun.
It like coming under contact for the first time?
I laughed my tits off. I couldn't help it.
It's amazing how many people say that.
Yeah, me and my mate who sort of got to the battalion a couple of weeks before me, who later ended up going on the sniper carder with me and is one of my best friends in the world now. We just looked at each other and just seen rounds sort of bouncing around near where we were and just laughing and then laughing on the move. but laughing. Yeah, and we sort of just took it all in for it felt like a few seconds, but it would have been milliseconds.
Yeah. And
it was quite surreal, but this is what we wanted. This is what we'd signed up for. It was exciting. and nothing will ever compare to that ever again. That moment, especially the very first time.
It's interesting you saying that about the guy letting rip with the mini me. It's just made me think then. So every tour I did, Northern Ireland, Bosnia, stuff like that, did first Gulf, second Gulf. Well, second Gulf I can't really include in this. The first Gulf I was a battle casualty first, which I can't include that at all. The rules of engagement were so strict that, nothing like that would ever happen. In Ireland, you'll know yourself, in Ireland, the yellow card, the rules of engagement were so strict there that, unless literally fucking shooting you.
Yeah.
You're not going to fucking shoot, but you're not going to just let rip in the street or out like that.
That's it. It was very different, yeah. And there were different rules of engagement. Obviously, we'd sort of moved on at times from a sort of card alpha environment to various other ones that allowed us to keep ourselves safe.
Yeah.
But also still, we weren't the first sending rounds towards people. It warning shots, fair one. But we weren't sort of sneaking up on people at that point and doing anything naughty in the middle of the night or anything.
No, that was somebody else's job. No, I fucking hell. So, was there any other flashpoints in that tour, or any interesting bits that you could talk about?
There was a few cheeky ones, yeah. There was one sort of 30-kilometre tab into battle, so we just sort of advanced into contact. This was a bit of a beast, yeah. So we were one side of a wadi, a dried up riverbed, and 2-3 SAS with the other, and we simultaneously moved up. Shit hit the fan on our side and theirs. It was interesting. We ended up sort of getting cut off. Vehicles couldn't get to us. Chinooks couldn't get to us. We started running out of food and water, ammunition. It was bad. That lasted a couple of days, sort of just being stuck in the middle of shit town. And then having to make a sort of fighting withdrawal up to the top of this high feature and get onto a plateau and then do another 30-click tab back with sod all water. It was a bit of a cheeky few days, that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. It was interesting to see just how you can just do that. In 40-odd degree heat, your body will do it. And that was the first time I'd ever really done anything of that kind of distance under that sort of pressure with that amount of kit, and the adrenaline going crazy through your body.
Yeah,
you can do it. And it was so that was the first time I realised, maybe what I think I'm capable is actually way further up here. I did that so just before we set off on the 30 clicks back, I went man down with heat exhaustion and dehydration, and started hallucinating and asking people where my beret was and all this sort of stuff. Incoming rounds were flocking towards us, and I was just wandering around like I was pissed. It was mad, and then sort of managed to get a bit of food and water in me, and then off we go.
Fucking hell. I know I've kind of suffered heat exhaustion myself once, and yeah, you are like you're pissed.
Yeah,
I say Jesus.
Oh God.
Yeah, well, no, not God, Jesus. Sorry.
Okay,
No, I say Jesus stood right in front of me, winking at me, and I was just thinking, what are you doing? And it just, what are you doing here? It was on that leadership course I was on.
Yeah.
Funny enough. Right, so first tour of Afghan under your belt. You come back.
Yeah.
Did you go back to Cyprus or was it back to the UK?
Yeah, went back for a quick week or two, maybe R&R back home, and then flew back to Cyprus then for a few more months, which was piss up town. Really, it was make the most of it. It was good. It was fun. Apart from when we had to start cleaning the block to ridiculously high standards that were unachievable because we were leaving. And it was handover time, and somehow we had to get these 300-year-old floors shining. I don't know.
Yeah, been there, done that. I remember us leaving the barracks in Germany, and we had like hand paint all the walls in our rooms. Out of our own pocket as well. Fucking
horrendous. And then they were building the new type accommodation just down the way as well. So it basically hotels.
Yeah. So where did you just go after Cyprus then?
So after that, we ended up in the Dale Barracks in Chester.
Just far from home then?
No, not too far at all from home. No, it's it was very handy indeed. It was nice, yeah. But I was sad to see, the back of Cyprus, but it was also nice to be back in the UK, and especially not having a 5-6 hour drive home or whatever, like a lot of people. Yeah. So I was lucky that way.
Did you see a change in the battalion then? Because I'm going to compare like Cyprus to, let's say, when we were in Germany all them years ago, and then we come back to the UK on a posting, and the regiment changed. When you're in Germany, you're all stuck together. Cyprus would have been probably the same. You spend weekends together.
Yeah.
Hardly anyone ever goes on. In the UK, weekend, gone.
Exactly that.
But Putin should work out that the best time to invade the UK is a Friday afternoon. Fucking everyone's travelling; they're not going to come back.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah,
that definitely happened. Yeah. So in Cyprus, we had company bars in the block.
Yeah.
Each company, and it was great. That's where everyone went after work, and then coming back to the UK. Yeah, exactly that happened. People would sort of disappear or lock themselves in the rooms and stuff. So it did change. There was still, to be honest, most of us were just out on the piss in Chester most nights. That's kind of what we did, which was fun until they had enough of us.
Yeah, it's just everywhere we go, we've got to do that.
To suss the place out.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then pretty soon then after getting back, it was back into get your head in the game because we're going back to Afghan next year. That's then when the sniper cadre started being talked about. So there wasn't a sniper platoon in the Royal Welsh at the time. It's a kind of thing, and it is through most regiments and has been through history. Snipers come and go for various reasons. But there wasn't one. So it was decided that on the next sniper cadre that was coming up, we'd try and send blokes from the battalion. So we held a sort of pre-selection phase. And there was various regiments around the army that were doing the same thing. And then those of us that rose to the top of that phase were then sent away to actually attend the sniper cadre. So it's just like aptitude testing, physical testing, that sort of thing. Looking at your shooting scores and the basic stuff, really. Basic stuff, combat fitness tests and whatnot. And then, we were off. We were up near Dundee, learning witchcraft.
Yeah. I heard it just, described in the book about the course and everything like that. And I've heard other guys talking about it. And I know guys who, kind of done it. And it's harder than people give it credit for.
Oh, God, yeah. It's one of the hardest courses to complete in the British Army.
We had an introduction to it years back where we got, we were on we were in Canada, I think, weren't we? And they pulled everyone, off the ranges and stuff like that. And then they said, right, we've got an interesting afternoon. You're going to be doing a sniper card. And we were like, fucking what? Basically got, right, go over there, camouflage yourself. They give us a good lesson and all that beforehand. And it was basically doing a bit of stalking.
Yeah.
For the afternoon. And I think,
lovely.
I think 3 or 4 of us fell asleep. So we were that knackered from being on the ranges all like that the week previous. And we're doing belly crawling across this fucking
lovely day out.
Yeah, it's just like find them, just sleep. That's why.
Okay, now.
So were you prepared for that course? Did you know what it was going to be like?
No one knows what it's going to be like until you're there. Right. It's sort of shrouded in mystery. And I think that's done on purpose. I now know it's a sort of dark art that you have to earn the right to sort of peek behind the curtain in a way. So we knew it was going to be tough from just what we'd been told. We had some guys that were snipers in the battalion. They were helping us out with a bit of training and stuff and getting us sort of in that mindset. But once we arrived, day one, straight away, was an introduction to kit and equipment that we'd never seen before, shiny things that we had no idea what they did, and like lessons in classrooms that were just insane. So like calculations, I'm shocking at maths, and turned out most people in the room were. But yeah, figuring out how the wind works, why it does things it does, and how to counteract to that, and ballistics, how a round flies through the air, what does affect it, biometric pressure and temperature and altitude and all these sorts of things, spin drift. So yeah, it was interesting. But for me personally, and our sort of little group of lads from the Royal Welsh, so there was 1st Battalion and 2nd Battalion Royal Welsh guys there now, that we didn't know, we just got to know on the course, but gelled instantly. So yeah, we started loving going to a classroom, to be honest, because we were learning stuff that we cared about for the first time. A lot of us hated school, couldn't be asked of it, weren't interested. We knew we were going in the military, so it didn't really matter. But once we got here, we were learning stuff that we wanted to do, and it was interesting there. I never realised quite how much and how complicated things can get in the world of being a sniper, in just the making a shot aspect of it, which is probably 20 to 30% of actually being a sniper, is the shooting and making those shots from those extreme distances. But once we kind of done it and like calibrated ourselves to the wind, so we'd have these things called kestrels that you'd hold up and they'd tell you how fast the wind's going and etc. And after a while, we'd sort of close our eyes, say what it'd be out loud, the wind speed, and then look and be like, yeah, right, we're on, and we'll be able to do it to the kilometre. That's how much we practice these things, practicing various fire positions over and over and over again, till they became sort of almost like muscle memory, naturally relaxed positions where you could be in the strangest, like awkward layback position with legs crossed and the barrel going through your crossed boots and stuff like that. It was interesting. Also, the history side to it as well. So we started to learn about how these fire positions had been used by various well-known snipers throughout history. It was good, but once that was done, it was time for the shooting range stuff, and that was mega. Absolutely everyone loved that, because you just sort of see this grouping over time just kind of gradually close and close and close, and then before you know it, that grouping's the same hole, at hundreds and hundreds of meters away, and then you're able to move that hole of the same rounds. It's a good feeling. It's
I can imagine. I'd be just fucking glad to pass an APWT most of the time.
Yeah.
I say I was in the artillery. If we go grouping, it's fucking huge. It's It's interesting. You mentioned, like the barometrics and stuff like this, and rotation of the earth and everything like that. And it's very much like the computation of fire and artillery.
Yeah.
Very, very similar. I suppose it's almost exactly the same, just on a smaller scale. We're doing it further with a bigger round.
Yeah.
But you've got to take into the same, like you said, whether everything's got to be taken into account.
Yeah. This one, do you get a spin drift on an artillery round?
Yeah. So you've got to take in the spin of the shell, and you've also got to take in the Coriolis, so the spin of the earth.
Yeah.
Well, and that's when somebody who's a fucking flat earther goes, the earth's flat. No, it's not. It was in the artillery, and I'll fucking prove it. That's the one thing you've got to take into account when you're firing over a long distance. That it's moving. Well, only moving. We're all doing that, aren't we? But it's still fucking.
Well, when you're trying to get something exactly where you need it to be, all makes a difference, definitely. Sure.
So, in the boat you mentioned, you just went up to Scotland to do the rest of the course. Was not Barry Budden?
Started up there. Started in Scotland, and then went down to Brecon
down to Brecon. Sorry, I got it the wrong way around. Yeah, down to Brecon, and that was like the second part of the course, was it?
Yeah, so phase 2 of the sniper corridor. So once you pass phase 1, you go down there. So the first phase is 3 months, and then the second phase is another 3 months.
What's the failure rate like?
Say again, sorry.
What's the failure rate like?
Oh, crazy high. I think there's 158 that started our course and 8 finished it. Yeah. The Americans are always very surprised at the fact that it's a 6-month course. So their sniper courses over there are 6 weeks.
Yeah, but they're fucking born with armor lights, aren't they?
Well, yeah, that's it. Yeah, they definitely.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
So yeah, we got down there. We stayed in Senny Bridge camp. Don't know if you've ever been there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
The system, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. So we were down there, and this is where it started getting really interesting. This is where we're learning to become invisible. You know, learn all the Gucci map breeding skills to be able to work on our own, and everything you are on your own. You know, you've only got yourself to hold accountable for your successes and failures. There's you know, there's no sort of everyone waiting for you to catch up or any of that. Every single man there has to be able to do it themselves. So we gradually then grew. We knew how to shoot. We knew all the shooting calculation side of things, and now it was how do we move as snipers? How do we do what you mentioned before, like going on stalks, being undetected, taking out targets, extracting without being seen. Things like observation techniques and games. So do you remember the Kim's game where there's items on a table?
Yeah.
You have a few seconds or whatever, and then you cover it up and then write it down. Things like that will get our brains working, and then that would then lead into that sort of reconnaissance side of things, observation post sort of work. So yeah, it started to get really exciting then at this point, because we could see ourselves changing then from infantry soldiers, riflemen to snipers. We were learning all these new skills every single day, and then gradually getting better at them until, yeah, before we knew it, 6 months had kind of flown by. Looking back now, it seems to have gone like that, but yeah.
I imagine that was quite a physical side. You know, phase 2 was quite a physical thing then. So,
yeah.
I mean, you know, in your book, I was like, it sounds like a fucking selection. Some of the stuff you mentioned in it, it was just like quite similar.
Yeah. So we were on the same hills as those guys. So we'd sort of like I mentioned it in the book, didn't I? The selection phase was going on at the time, and we'd see blokes going off for SF selection, doing the hills phase for the day, and every now and then we'd see, you know, an orange fucking bib on a Bergen in the distance. So yeah, we'd be up to all sorts. We'd be definitely covering a lot of mileage every single day, where it got to the point where aches and pains were so painful that they just became funny. It was beyond the joke, and we couldn't do anything. You'd laugh or cry, like they say. But we got through it. Morale was mostly high for most of it, especially in our sort of like tight knit Welshman little crew that we had going on. We had our own like agenda that we wanted to be the best. You know,
it's going to happen, isn't it? You're going to get, I wouldn't say clicks or on the course, but groups like that, and you're not to be better than each other.
Yeah,
it's competition, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. There was a bit of competition, but it was a very friendly competition. It was more kind of let's all reach this level together, you know. And we did. We bloody smashed it. It was good. It was exciting times ahead for the regiment, to be honest, having 2 new sniper platoons being built, and now having this new set of assets available, which changed a lot of stuff, changed tactics that we were going to be using and things like that.
I mean, was it planned? I mean, it's like, you know, we all know, or it's said that, you know, a sniper is a force multiplier, not just because they can, you know, fucking hold an army up, Stalingrad and places like that.
Yeah.
But it's what you mentioned earlier, the reconnaissance side of it as well.
Yeah, very much
in the artillery, we got, you know, like 473 battery. I mean, they're formed from stay behind OPs. So the whole idea was that they would deploy, wait for the fucking Red Army to roll over the top of them, and they'd be behind the enemy lines and stuff like that. So I mean, I imagine the reconnaissance side for you would be going out, getting as close, well, not as close as you can, but visibly,
Yeah.
to where they are and guiding in all sorts. I mean, were you taught to bring artillery in and stuff like that?
Yeah, everything, all of that sort of stuff, and also being able to sort of trump plans. If we could read the ground and say everyone is meant to be in a couple of hours' time moving through this direction, through that bit of dead ground there, but we get there and go, well, that is caked in brambles. You're not going to be able to move through that for quickly or quietly, then we'd have that sort of ability to go, no, that needs to change. That needs to change. We suggest you use this route. We're going to be over here overwatching. And that would be a lot of our role, would be that sort of, obviously we had a recce platoon. That was their main job. Ours was more the side of, we'll be up here, and when it goes noisy, we'll sort of deal with it. And that, we sort of, it was never like officially made or told to us that was going to be our job. We kind of just found that in a way ourselves from what we now knew. And the battalion, obviously hadn't had a sniper platoon for a while. Commanders were new, people that hadn't worked with snipers before. So we had to sort of go, right, this is what we can do. You let us know if you're happy with that, and we'll go and get it done. And it was great. For the first time, we felt like grown-ups. We weren't getting treated like kids anymore. We didn't have to faff about doing all the stupid stuff. It was just do our job. And we loved our jobs. Every single one of us loved that way of life.
Did you get a lot of continuance training once you finished the course? Or?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. So we had one of our instructors, he'd been in the army for bloody donkey's years as a master sniper. He then got out and he'd worked with special forces all over the world. He'd gone and worked with SWAT teams and stuff in America, teaching their marksmen and snipers. And then he came back and got back into the army, ended up in our battalion. And he had a world of knowledge. This guy just lived sniping. He absolutely loved it, knew everything about it. And he was a fountain of knowledge for us. So we just took it all in. He was a great instructor on the course, and he continued then to be our sniper platoon commander. And he wasn't shy of pissing other people off in the battalion by saying, no, my lads aren't doing that. We're doing this because this is more important. We need to be on the range, keeping our shooting good. And that paid off in the end on the next, tour of Afghan. Our shooting was good and we were able to pull some stuff off because of what, he fought for us to be able to do and taught us. Yeah. It was all sort of put to the test then a few months after the sniper carder. We were deploying to Kenya for a couple of months for the main pre-deployment exercise, if you will. And it was massive. It was like a battle group exercise going on in the bloody hottest place on earth.
I'm lucky, unlucky. I don't know. Never did a Kenya tour. I don't know if that is lucky or unlucky.
It was the best thing I ever did in the army, I think.
Most of the guys I know who've done it have loved it.
Yeah.
I'm not a little bloke. I don't do heat very well.
Oh, right.
You know what I mean? I think I'd have fucking lost a few stone if I'd have gone out there.
It was
probably a good idea then.
Very hot indeed.
So, how did you prove yourself on that exercise then?
Firstly, it was through the TESXs, so the laser kit that you wear. Firstly, it was through that when we started dropping 400-500 meter headshots. Going, right, this is what we can do now. And then the whole recce side of it came in, and we were getting posted off in pairs and overwatching as attacks were going in. And it just, like I said earlier, it just sort of fell into place where we proved ourselves that we can do this on our own now. We're not just the same people that you once knew 6 months ago or so. We're snipers now. So we're going to bring it, and we did. It was.
You mentioned something in the book quite interesting about wildlife.
Yeah, or the lion.
Yeah.
Well, lions. Yeah, a couple of incidences with lions. Yeah, one was waiting on a dawn attack. I can't remember if I put this in the book or not. We were waiting in a sort of tree line for a dawn attack. We saw a zebra legging it across this open grassy patch, I suppose you call it. I don't know. Next minute, lion, boom, jumps out of nowhere, straight on its back and takes it down. Right, it was like watching David Attenborough stuff going on right in front of us. We all go, fucking hell, whoa. But yeah, there was that one. But yeah, are you on about the one with the anti-tank blokes up on the hill?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god, that was scary. So we were patrolling middle of the night, moving locations, and we were going through a bit of sort of thick jungly bush. And there was this smell. I was at the back of the patrol, and this smell was... I'd never smelled anything like it before. It was like wet dog and fucking hormones. I don't know. It was a strong stench, and we could feel it in the air. Kind of going, what the hell? What is that? What is that smell? So we're carrying on. And then, obviously, in Kenya, it was a blank firing exercise for all of it until the very end. But senior NCOs had one magazine of live rounds, just in case there was an incident with animals. So all of a sudden, you sort of see commanders putting the live rounds magazines in. We're going, what the fuck is going on? What is going on? So anyone that's got MVGs is sort of flopping them down and having a little scan around. And then there was just these eyes in this bush looking back at us, and I fucking shit my pants. And we heard this guttural growl, and we knew then it's lions. And it came over the radio then. So up on the hillside, not too far away, was the anti-tanks blokes. So they've got javelins and they're watching this, and they can see these lions stalking us as we're moving. So it's decided, let's get the fuck out of here slowly but carefully. I was at the back, sort of getting as close as I can to the guy in front of me, go, fuck this, I'm not getting to first. No way. And then all of a sudden, stop, come over the radio. And there was a bloody herd of elephants in front of us. So we had lions behind us, elephants in front of us, and it was again a David Attenborough situation. But luckily, both species buggered off eventually, and we were able to get the fuck out of Dodge.
I don't know. Yeah. I was going to say I don't know which would be worse, lions or elephants. Because equally going to fucking kill you anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I was more scared of the lions than I was the elephants, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, imagine charging herd of elephants. The growl. Yeah, I can imagine. Okay,
bloody big teeth and claws. So yeah, not that an elephant, isn't scary.
So, I mean, not long after that, he's deployed to Afghan again.
Yeah, we're off.
And you're in the role that you're being trained to do.
Yeah.
How did they start using you? Did you get to
originally
do your job quickly?
Yeah, in the beginning, all of us snipers were chucked in. The majority of us, were chucked in what was called the Mobile Reconnaissance Force. So our job was 18 vehicles, 18 Jackal vehicles. Each had a GPMG on the front, a Mini-Me on the front, and either a 50 cal machine gun or a grenade machine gun on the tops. So we were well equipped for most scenarios. So our job was go out in the desert, disappear, and then go and strike positions, recce positions, patrol through villages, gather intelligence, and then bugger off back into the desert and become invisible again. And that was our role for a little while. And then the tour started to progress then. It was strike ops and, advance into battle in a way of kind of knowing the Taliban were watching us and about to open fire and just advancing until they did, and then retaliating and sort of taking ground slowly but surely. That was our main role, to be honest, at the beginning.
So your first time doing a kill as a sniper?
Yeah. The first time was a sort of simultaneous shot between me and two other snipers. We'd been out on patrol with some Afghan special forces and come under contract. They legged it up this road like madmen and ended up taking this compound that housed some Taliban fighters. But very quickly we came under contact. We were sort of in these reeds and bushes. And we couldn't really see. We couldn't make out where these rounds were coming from. There was all sorts kicking off. We were firing into possible positions, any sort of movement. And then eventually we saw an AK-47 popping round the corner of this building. And myself and the other two snipers in the patrol at the time, we all let loose. And then it was over. That was it. That was my first time. And I've never really had any issues with that. Not at all. It wasn't until sort of later on down the line on the tour where I started to get, I suppose, in my head about it. I started to experience the really sort of negative side of squeezing the trigger. There's one story in the book there that you'll have read where a team of Delta Force, so American Special Forces, had been to an area and they'd taken some significant casualties, including their chopper pilot who'd been shot in the head. And then a few days later, as Welshmen went there to kick the hornet's nest and figure out how many people were there and how well armed they were. And we found out. I won't go into it too much, otherwise nobody will buy the book or listen to the audio book. But yeah, that day ended with me spending 13 hours on a roof, taking multiple enemy lives. And it was a day that changed my life forever.
Did you feel it then?
Yeah, I did. I felt something. I'd never heard of PTSD before. I'd never even heard the term mental health before. It's just never crossed my life. But something changed, and I felt it change. My sort of internal monologue became really, the little voice in your head became dark and angry. My temper became really, really short. And I started to only care about one thing, and that was squeezing that trigger, taking out enemy combatants. That became my life force for a while. And when it didn't happen, it pissed me off. And it became a big battle to sort of fight this thing off in my head that I have got no idea what it is, where it's coming from, or how I get rid of it, but also keeping quiet, not telling anyone what's going on for fear of, I suppose, the stigma. What would happen to me? What, would I be took off the ground, or what was going on? So I just kept my mouth shut, which it was a very big mistake. I can now say that wholeheartedly.
Do you think that was, sorry to interrupt, do you think that might have been almost an addiction to start, or start to be an addiction to not taking life, but to doing your job?
Yeah.
The side effect of your job is that,
context is, I always say this, that context is king. You've worked so hard to become a sniper. You've lived, breathed, slept sniping for, however long up to this point, and there's pride, and you want to do your job, you're there to do it. And it's not wanting to kill people. It's wanting to do something personally that helps.
Yeah.
And that is the way that a sniper can do that. They can send a round further than anybody else can and end a firefight. And that's what it was. And the adrenaline that comes along with that and all the feelings. So your adrenaline is going absolutely insane like it never has done before in your body. But at the same time, you've got to slow your heart rate down. and you're breathing, and you've got to be so calm that, you know, the slightest movement or quick sudden breath is going to throw a shot off to no end down the target end. So you've got to be perfect. You've got to be perfectly aligned. Your body has got to be comfortable and right and calm. And to be able to do that is probably one of the bigger skills, I'd say, that a sniper has, is to be able to have machine gun fire and bullets and RPGs flying overhead and hitting the wall around you, and you still be honed in like nothing else matters. You know, that it was that state that really became addictive. So yeah,
it's almost like meditation.
On the podcast, you know, loads of podcasts have put, you know, addicted to killing and stuff. It wasn't the addiction. It wasn't an addiction to killing, and I have used them words before, but it, you know, there's such a deeper answer to it.
I'm saying it's almost like a meditative state.
Absolutely.
That you're getting into. Trance-like almost.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You sort of, you know, to the point where it's like you're sleeping. That is how calm you need to be. And it's not easy to achieve, but it definitely came with practice for sure. And the willingness as well to stay in a position. So we found ourselves not working as much of the sort of sneaky side of things as we'd trained for. It was a case of the Taliban knew where we were. We just had to make sure that we were better shots than they were a lot of the time. So, you know, we weren't donning ghillie suits and crawling into bushes and things like that. It was very different. We were jumping onto rooftops, a lot of the time hidden behind sod all cover or a couple of sandbags, and that was it. Get there, dial in, and end this. That was our job.
So, I mean, you said there, you know, you'd started to notice a change in you. How about anybody else? Did they start to see you differently? Did people see?
Yeah, they did eventually, yeah. Everyone was... So there was a change happening in everyone.
Yeah.
Which is understandable, you know. You're fighting for your life. And Herrick 11, anyone that was on Herrick 11, anyone that watches this that was on Herrick 11 will vouch that was a tour. That was, you know, a cheeky period. So you're fighting for your life. You're in this mindset of an infantry soldier, in particular, where your job is to fight. That is it, and we're taking the fight to the Taliban. So yeah, people had started to change. People had started to get angry and aggressive. People started to miss home. You know, some people had newborn babies that literally just left. Yeah, it was. You know, it was heartbreaking, some of the one side of it, but then there's also the other side where you close down your emotions. You become this fucking cyborg soldier. It's mad. It's such a weird situation, and you're constantly on heightened alert, because it's not like, you know, we wear this uniform, the enemy wear that uniform. We're coming from this side, they're going to come from that side. We'll meet in the middle. It's a 360-degree battlefield where nobody is who they make out that they are. It's dangerous all of the time, as well as the IED threat that was through the roof. You know, every single footstep had to be checked. Everywhere you went had to be valloned with a metal detector and checked. And if it wasn't, there were implications to that, and you know there were deaths and casualties, and it was becoming frequent that it was happening, and you know, especially to British troops and a lot of Americans as well, who were kind of working sort of alongside us in the build up to this job called Operation Mostrak. They went to a place called Marja. Their Marines are now called Marja Marines because of what went on there as part of this bigger operation. And that's where it went tits up for me. On the sort of arse end of that operation was where my mind was not my own anymore. And yeah, so it took over me. Kind of, there's nothing I could do.
So how was that dealt with?
So I'd started screaming in the middle of the night, waking up, and on the front line now, we're in compounds that were taken off the Taliban, and we're now living in where they're surrounding us. We're living amongst them, and I'm screaming in the middle of the night and waking up and starting to hear things a little bit, and my anger was just off the charts. It was ridiculous. The slightest thing was setting me off, and people started to notice. And what I'd started to do was draw and write poems. So I'd draw the pictures of my dreams and I'd write these poems about events that had happened and stuff. And it was a way of me trying to get it out. I didn't really know it at the time. I didn't know that's what I was doing, but I've always been a creative person. I've always, drawn, written songs, written music, played instruments and stuff. And it was just a part of me. And then people started to see them by accident. And then radio conversations started to happen. People that had known me since the beginning of my career. One person in particular being one of my section commander from Depot. All those years before, he was there. And people were saying, yeah, that doesn't sound like him. That doesn't sound right. There's something going on. So I was then trimmed. So trauma and risk management. You sit down with somebody that's trim trained and they ask you some questions that have come off the sheet and you get a score. And by the end of our conversation, he turned to me and he said he'd never seen scores like it. He goes, I've never seen scores like this, mate. I've never seen them this high. Something's going to have to get done. And there's actually a picture of that very moment that I've come across a couple of days ago. And I'm sat there with this massive smile on my face and I look happy. I look like nothing at all is wrong. It's so weird for me to look back and like that face fooled everybody, and it could fool me. I was surprised when I first saw this picture. I was hang on, that's not them, and it is. I've got these papers in my hand, and it's that moment. So it's just the face of like a clown mask that I'd put on, and that clown mask would come off when it was go time. So eventually, after these back and forth conversations and my scores getting reported back, it was time for me to get medically evacuated from the front lines and sent back to Camp Bastion, which just made me feel like shit. It needed to be done.
Yeah, I was just about to say that's gonna take it out of you anyway.
It really, really did take the wind out of my sails. It took the fight out of me, and it made me start to feel useless and fucking humiliated. I was embarrassed that it had happened. It was so I had this thing that I was doing throughout the tour. Every time I made a shot, I'd draw a skull and crossbones on the side of my weapon, write the distance underneath it. And after a while, throughout the tour, as it progressed, my sniper rifle became known in Bastion because of its skull and crossbones drawn all down it. And then I just had it in my head that what an embarrassment I was. Sort of the guy that was holding that weapon was now broken, and I felt like a piece of shit. I was then told to go and work in the stores, have a bit of downtime, relax, try and catch up on some sleep. So I ended up getting sent to a forward operating base with one of the other lads called Fob Price. It was also known as Fob Nice because it was a holiday camp. It was lovely compared to everywhere else. There was a decent internet connection, a shop. I'm pretty sure there was a pool there, a gym. It was good. So that's where I went, and I was there for a couple of weeks. And during that couple of weeks, shit hit the fan out on the ground with the rest of the Royal Welsh lads, and one of our lads had been killed, and many more had got injured and lost limbs and had life-changing, catastrophic injuries. Very, close mates of mine whose lives were now changed, and sort of we didn't know if they were going to live or die. And it was horrendous. It was horrendous. I felt so much guilt and shame that I wasn't there, or Maybe I could have done something, maybe I couldn't. I was just constantly arguing back and forth with myself. There's nothing I could have done. I now know that. I wasn't even working in the area there that all went down. But these thoughts started to come in. That was where it really ramped up a gear then. But there was 2 weeks left on the tour. Me and this lad left Fob Nice, headed back to to Camp Bastion, and lads have started coming back in off the ground now. They were, collapsing positions and people were taking over them, and it was going about that volunteers were needed for a last 10-day operation, the last 10 days of the tour, and I just get me out on the ground, get me fighting, use me for this last remaining period. So it was decided that if I went to the med centre, spoke to the head doctor there, and spoke to the adjutant, made it clear that I was good, then, I'd be able to go on that operation. So when the med centre convinced them, you were bang on, I was tired, I've had a good couple of weeks, Kip, I'm good to go now. Next, adjutant, hello sir, I'm smashing, I've had a couple of weeks off, good to go. It was decided that, yes, I could go back out on the ground, but not with my sniper rifle. Just with, an SA-80. I didn't mind. Either way, it was just get me on the ground, get me doing what I'm here to do. But that job, that last 10-day operation, we didn't come into contact. We didn't see anything. The only thing that I seen was a couple of blokes in the middle of the night. A couple of Taliban fellas digging in an IED up on the main supply route to our location. Saw them get vaporised by a Predator drone missile. And then it was home time. It was, quick stop in Cyprus, a couple of beers and some issued fun. And then it was...
The amount of people I've asked this question, and I don't think any of them have said it was worth it. So stopping in Cyprus, your decompression.
Yeah.
One, from what I know of it, it wasn't planned very well, and two, it wasn't long enough. But you don't be hanging about. You want to get fucking home.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to get home. You're gagging to get home. In hindsight, though, that decompression needs to be at least a week. It needs a lot of structure to it. I think that period of time is so important, where you have to readjust to civilization. You have to almost turn that bit of your brain off. Otherwise, when you land in the UK, it's not going to go down well. That brain doesn't work on Civvy Street, and unfortunately, most of us are still flicked into that side. We're still them people. Come home, you still smell of dust. You still washing it out your arse. It's horrendous. But now you're allowed as much beer as you can drink, and the world's your oyster. You've got a bank full of money and a head full of ideas.
Yeah. That come back off tours where, for the first 3 or 4 nights, we weren't even allowed out of camp, for the obvious reasons. And then you get to go out, instead of fighting amongst yourselves, you're going to end up fighting with someone, and it happens. And it's not a good time, but it also is a fucking good time as well.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Don't get me wrong.
Operating in it, you sort of, your system is now operating on that level where fighting each other, fighting anyone that's around is just that's nothing, is it? I've just been fighting people to the death, so it's weird. So yeah, I really do believe that decompression needs to be, or needed to be, at least. Very different.
The old idea was just, what they used to do years back with those lot, when they used to just lock us in camp and fucking you're allowed to get pissed and fight amongst each other. Get it out of your system, as to say. But now we look back at or we've got a better understanding of what's going on in our brain,
Yeah.
as a collective. Like I said, you mentioned earlier, when you started experiencing issues, that I never even thought of mental health. It was never mentioned and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was like in my day. It was just,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, looking back, you've obviously, we'd seen people who had issues, but you just thought they were a bit fucking weird. So you avoided them. You know what I mean?
The dead angry people who were always punching people.
Yes. Yeah, that was me. That was just because I was an angry fucker.
Yeah, well, that's it. So that's where it led me. That's the road it led me, was anger. Anger and irritability ruled my world completely. And it wasn't for many, 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 many years, like fucking hell, 12 years until I got rid of that anger. It was.
So when you've come back from Afghan,
Yeah.
when was it before you started getting treatment? And again, did you have to go and seek that yourself, or were you told to? Or
I went. So after an incident at my parents' house, when I flew off the handle and didn't realise I'd even done it, I went back to camp, spoke to my platoon sergeant on the Monday morning, told him a bit about what was going on. I was having nightmares and flashbacks and all these things that I didn't know that's what they were called. Daydreams, I was calling them. I had no fucking idea. Telling him about the trouble I was getting into, all my thoughts and feelings about things. And instantly he recognised, he needs help. And he called up the med centre, and luckily there was a psychiatric nurse there in camp in the med centre that day. So within an hour, I was there. I had an appointment. And that was great. That was fantastic. You couldn't ask for a better timescale than that. But what it did was make me start to think, well, why is there a psychiatric nurse in camp? I was kind of, who's that for? Who are they here all day? They've got a full day of appointments. Who for? Because I've never heard of this shit before. But apparently loads of people are going to see this guy because they need help. And I didn't know anything about it. No one talked about anything, or, I still to this day don't know who it was. Well, most of them, I know some of them. But it sort of pulled the rug from under my feet a little bit. This thing that I felt was, I don't know, like safe and secure, I suppose, for want of other words. It was solid. It was the fucking army. It was my battalion. It was all these blokes that had done all this stuff, but then found out there's an undercurrent of, well, actually, this is what the job could do to you. And I kind of went, fuck, that's what it's doing to me. And it went from there. From that point, that was 2011. I think it was August 2011. By the time I actually got a proper diagnosis of PTSD. Then it was just a rapid downhill from there. Symptoms just got so much worse. The depression was absolutely unbearable. I was so sad all the time, couldn't string a sentence together without bursting into tears. I couldn't get out of bed. I just couldn't function. I couldn't shower. I was on that many pills, so I eventually built up to like 14 or 15 pills a day to sedate me, basically, keep me calm. But it didn't keep my brain calm. It just kept my body calm. So I was like trapped in this prison of torture. It was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. It was so bad. So bad.
And while you're going through all this, how did people treat you?
Good. My mates, the lads, the people I knew in the battalion, it was good. And there was an aspect of care there and compassion in a way. But on the flip side of that, it's almost like it's contagious. Sort of, don't go near that. Yeah,
exactly what I just said earlier. I said that quite flippantly earlier, but there's that mentality.
I understand it. I understand where it comes from. It's just not ideal when you're the sufferer.
Yeah.
And that led eventually to me being sent home. So I was sick at home leave then. So I was just stuck in my parents' box room, wanting to die every single day, all day, wanting to either die or be back there doing the job and hopefully die there. That's all I wanted. All I wanted. And then 2012, November 2012, finally couldn't take anymore. I made the decision that I was going to kill myself. So I got my army issued knife, went downstairs, said to my parents, like, I was just nipping out. See you later, guys, love you very much, see you. Got in the car and drove down to this little quiet spot by a river. I slit my wrists, and it was fucking hell. It was heartbreaking. It was the most heartbreaking moment of my life. And I just kept sort of crying to myself, going, I'm so sorry, mate. I'm so sorry. And I eventually looked and saw that my jeans were covered in blood. My hoodie was all covered in blood, and my lips were blue, and I was not in a good way. Not in a good way. And I realised that I'd made a mistake. I did not want to die. I was 22 at this point.
You know,
which is mental, isn't it? 22, yeah. I've done all that. Got to 22 and tried to kill myself. It was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous. No one could help me. The best chance of help I had was trial and error from people that were reading from pamphlets older than me. There was nothing. It wasn't so much anyone's fault. I don't now, or never have I held anyone to blame. I just don't think that the British Army was ready for what was going to happen after that conflict and during that conflict in the terms of mental health. And it's still going on to this day. And it will continue on for a long time. Because there's a lot of people that it's not even touched yet, but one day it will. I always hear people say, I just don't think about it. That's great. That's fucking fantastic. If you don't think about it and you can not think about it, then amazing. But one day, there may well come a time where you can't just not think about it and you can't stop thinking about it. And that's when, hopefully, conversations like what we're having here and some of the sort of tidbits that I pass on throughout all these interviews and with books and whatnot will come in use for people. That's my aim now.
I read a statistic about that. It doesn't hit a lot of people until between 7 and 10 years after, and then all of a sudden it does. And again, it might not flick a switch in someone's mind. They might not have suicidal ideation or anything like that, but it affects them.
Yeah.
I can't compare anything that I ever went through or afterwards like to what you have. But for me, I just turned in a recluse, really, and I didn't realise. I didn't realise that at all. I thought I was just normal, and it wasn't until.
Yeah.
It wasn't until years later, and I had counselling. Do you not think that was you were a bit weird then? Type of thing. It's just everything just felt normal.
It's difficult, and it can be set off by so many things. Financial worries and stuff like that. A bloody good, decent cold, can set people off. It's a scary situation, but the more information that's out there. And the more that we combat this stigma that's attached to it, will be good. Something I keep saying is that veterans, our armed forces, are made up of incredible people that have achieved and capable of achieving incredible things. They're a fucking asset to our country. And a lot of them are not able to now live to their full potentials because of their mental health, leading from, Afghan, Iraq, Kosovo, Ireland, Falklands. So, this is my new mission. Help spread awareness, which is obviously comes a lot into books you can see behind me there, the Afghanistan sniper ones. And then also I've got this one. Ted Shirley's Unwind and Remind. So this is a colouring book that I've made that is made up of 90 pages of lessons and the best bits of my recovery. So the idea is that one day when I was struggling, I sat down and started painting with some watercolours, and then realised an hour had gone by and I'd not thought about anything. And then I've sort of dug into that and spent a few months working on this bad boy. It's only available through my website. It's not on Amazon or anything like that. tedshirley.co.uk.
No, we'll get the links in the show notes when it comes out. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, nice one, mate. Yeah.
So, I mentioned to you before I'd done the counselling level 2 course, but before that I'd done the suicide awareness course. And there's one massive stigma over suicide or attempted suicide, or even, people just don't want to mention it. And that's something I think we need to talk about more. I interviewed a guy last week, Ed McKenzie, who's from the Elysium Memorial Foundation. And they've just put in a memorial into the National Arboretum, and that's what it's for. So it's the people who've lost through suicide, and there's now a memorial because there wasn't one before.
Wow.
The people say, if someone's intent on killing themselves or committing suicide, however you want to say it, they're just going to do it. They're not. Most people, aren't intent on taking their own life. These people who think that,
people are going to go and kill themselves and thinking that there's no signs in that lead up. There's loads. The issue lies, I believe, in, again, education and educating people as to what these signs are, the absence of normal, And
it is a case of we've got to be more aware, being able to talk, feel safe and talk, is the biggest, the biggest starter to this.
It is. It's so easy that it seems ridiculous, but just asking people, "Are you okay?" and then ask again, "Are you all right?" Yeah. Are you really all right? You'll get an answer. You'll get a different answer if there is one to be had.
Yeah,
and it's important. Have you seen the thing that I've been spreading around for the past 6 months, maybe? A crap friend is the idea. So #crapfriend. And what this is having been in this situation when you're feeling like shit, suicidal, incredibly depressed, whatever you need, just rather than having to find the words to text someone and be like, I'm crying my eyes out, mate, and I can't stop, and I don't want to be here anymore, or picking the phone up and going, hello, I need help. You send a dog shit emoji. That is it. It's that easy. Boom, one button, send. Now, the idea is that your crap friend is someone that you'd send that to. And then the emphasis is on them to know that poop emoji means my mate needs help. My mate needs a phone call, so that people don't have to already hold that conversation in their head before they press the call button. It needs to be so easy for them to do. Now I know, so my old regiment, the Royal Welsh, are now implementing this into their lives. And I'm hoping that it will spread throughout the armed forces and the veterans community. I know a lot of people are doing it. They're getting behind the idea. So if you watch this, tell your friends about it. Send your friend your poo. They'll be happy about it.
So your recovery, then, let's talk about them. So you've had your suicidal ideations and your attempt on your own life.
Yeah.
what did you feel after that? Did you feel remorse, guilt, and annoyance, anger?
Yeah, remorse. It was regret. I didn't want to die. Once I realised I wasn't going to die the following day, it was more a sort of desperation that I need to get this fixed. I'm lucky I didn't die that time. Next time I might not be so lucky. It just so happened that I had an appointment with my psychiatrist the following day, and he noticed the injuries to my wrist. And that was me then sent away to a psychiatric ward on the other side of the country for 3 months. No contact from anybody, just me and my demons. And that was tough. There wasn't too much therapy going on there. It was a case of just keep me alive, keep me from harming myself, because that's all I wanted to do. For those 3 months, I just wanted to die, and I tried making various attempts at doing it again in the hospital, and I was just in the worst of places. And then eventually, after 3 months, I got discharged from hospital, sent home. And then a few months after that, I was medically discharged from the army. That was it. I was gone. So my income was gone. Where I lived was gone. My friends, the people closest to me in my life were gone. My career, hopes, dreams, gone. I'm back home in a box room with demons that aren't going anywhere for a very long time. And even from that point, it was another 10 years until I actually started to improve.
Did anyone from the military look into you or look you up? Sorry, I will speak properly. Get in touch with you afterwards. After you'd left.
Couple of sort of welfare visits to do with, sort of like resettlement, that sort of thing. But no, it's up to you. It's the green machine keeps moving forward, as they say.
Yeah. Do you think there should be more of that, though? Do you think that there should be part of the military, part of the MOD?
Oh, God, yeah. I think that would make such a difference, because that transition between this day you're in camp, so you're handing in your ID card, and the next day you're out and it's gone. Everything's gone. But you're still the same person. You still miss your mates. You still miss the job that you love doing. And I think having one foot in, like Jim Davidson, the comedian, he had a good idea. I've seen him on the old Paratrooper podcast talking about NAFI bars opening up to veterans, so you can go in sort of have, as he put it, 1 foot inside the wire. Yeah. And I think having that connection would be something really, really beneficial to veterans, especially those that abruptly lose their jobs.
On that, my old regiment, 3RHA, is not that far away from where I live. It's up in Northumberland. And they recently opened their sergeant's mess up to a lot of veterans, which I thought was amazing. So we had a night down there. We had a night down there. That was, they even let us, we said it jokingly, can we bring our camper vans and sleep on a parade square? and they went, yeah, all right. So we did.
Oh, brilliant. Yes.
It was brilliant. It was a really good night. It was awesome.
Can't answer for your HA. Good lads. Yeah. Well done. Fucking brilliant.
It was a good crack, that. I mean, reading your book, listening, you went through various different types of therapy.
Yeah.
We touched on one earlier, which is like talking therapy, which you were doing yourself by writing, writing therapy, writing pictures, writing poems, writing songs.
Yeah.
So you said, like, in the hospital, you weren't really getting any therapy there. So when did the things like that start to change?
So after I was discharged from the army, that's when my care was passed on to the NHS.
Yeah.
That is then when therapy really started for me. So a small underfunded team called NHS Veterans Wales. I think there's like maybe 15 or 16 people that work for this organisation that cover the entire country of Wales. It's insane, doing it in like cleaning closets or spare rooms of hospitals. I had therapy in my car once because there was no rooms available. It's it's ridiculous. It needs so much money plowed into it because it's a good service. But that's where I started learning these sort of fundamental bits of my overall recovery. So grounding techniques, learning to calm my nervous system, my reactions to things, especially anger and irritability. And after a little while of that, I started to get better. I started to feel better, at least. But I also felt like I took up enough time. I don't deserve any more help. After all, this is my fault. I've done this. I killed those people. I deserve to bear this burden. So I left therapy and then buggered off on an adventure for a few years around the world that was very, very fun.
I thoroughly enjoyed that part of the book.
Did you? I think it needs its own book.
Yeah, I think Australia.
Yeah.
I was quite jealous, to be honest.
Yeah, there's so many stories from that. Originally, I was going to put loads and loads and loads of the travelling stuff in there, but I ended up taking it all out and just sort of referring to loads of bits quite quickly, and over just 3 or 4.
But you've got to keep that for another book, mate. That's right.
Well, yes, there will be one. Yeah.
I mean, one thing you mentioned is your love of music and out afterwards. And that's not just playing, but writing as well and performing.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always been something that I've done. And I found it really powerful to be able to write songs that would resonate as almost advice to me. There's a lot to be said for music therapy. Hell of a lot to be said. And I'm sure at some point down the road, I'm going to introduce some sort of thing like that because it's so powerful being able to write your own song. If I could take you and your issues, for instance, and let's write a song about it, and then you get to walk away and go, right, there you go, that's your song for you. It's powerful.
I can't. I don't know if this is comparable, but I've had a few beers. Do you know the AI thing, Suno, where you can create music?
No.
Right. So there's a website called Suno, and you can throw in lyrics into it and then describe what type of music you want it to, the genres, the different genres of music, and it basically creates a song with music.
Oh, AI songwriting, is it?
Yeah, and I must admit I've used that as a type of therapy. So when I'm feeling a bit, I'll put my thoughts down and then throw it into that.
That's a good idea.
Back to what it gives you. Feel a bit better. I must admit, caveat to this, it's normally I might have had a bottle of wine or two. So, you know what I mean? But I feel great. I don't want to say great, but it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Then I get up the next morning and listen to it back and go, that's shit. And then that makes me giggle. You know what I mean? You're just like, it was a brilliant idea that when I went to bed. And then when I got up, it's like, that makes no fucking sense whatsoever. But it's music therapy.
Yeah. But it certainly did a lot for me, being able to do it. And then obviously perform them live was, again, really, really powerful. Really powerful. But
so, I mean,
it's always been
the different types of therapy that you went through. Which one got you to where you are? CBT.
Cognitive behavioural therapy. That was the one that sort of squared away my reactions, why my brain was working the way it was, why I was reacting the way I was, thinking the things I was, etc. The one that the big one that finally pushed it sort of over the edge and got me cured was EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprogramming.
Which is a fairly new therapy.
Yeah, it was new at the time, when I was doing it, It is incredibly powerful. So, for people listening, it is when we're asleep and we're in REM, rapid eye movement sleep, our thoughts and whatnot are processed throughout the day. They go from left to right, bouncing across your head until they go left, right, all the way to the back, and they're stored in the back of your brain where your long-term memory is. And with traumatic events, traumatic memories, we can't do that ourselves. That's what the PTSD is there for. We just can't deal with it. So what EMDR does is you sit there in front of a light bar that goes left to right, right to left, follow it, and it replicates that. So you manually achieve the process of processing those thoughts and memories. Then you can detach the emotion from the memory. So I can now sit on these podcasts, do all this sort of stuff, all these interviews and whatnot, and talk about these things. And I still picture them. I can still see the things, the people that I've shot and all this sort of stuff. I can still see it. But no longer am I controlled by it. I don't have that emotion, that overpowering emotion towards it that would, destroy me for months and months on end each time it came into my head. Mm. It's been processed, and that's the whole idea, that the quicker people get into therapy or recognise that they've got an issue, just commit yourself to it, go through the process, trust the process, find the right therapist that works with you. If you don't get on with your therapist, move on, because you're wasting everyone's time. Find a therapist you get a good rapport with and go through it. You will see improvements in your life. And again, it comes back to that positivity thing, which I strive by. Doing positive things and acting positive and thinking positive. You will attract positive things. The positive things that have come to me the last 6 months since this book's come out, just fucking blowing my mind. It is insane. I pinch myself. Honest, it's crazy. And I'm helping so many people along the way. The messages, countless messages every day. People. Yeah. What's really, really making me happy is something that I didn't expect was people's partners get in touch with me saying that they've listened to the book or they've read the book and they now understand what their partner's going through. That is powerful. I'm so grateful that I'm in a position to be able to do that now. So please buy the book.
I mean, let's just, before we leave, I mean, just touching on back on the therapy side,
Yeah.
The way I see it is, there's that many different types of therapy, right? And, CBT, talking, writing, EMDR. Have you heard of the deep diving therapy?
No.
So I had a guy on the podcast last year who runs it in the Caribbean, because you can't do it in Europe because it's illegal. I wouldn't say it's illegal, but it's against regulations. So one theory about PTSD is that it's a physical damage to the brain.
Right.
So one of the things with the EMDR that happens is it reroutes that.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't actually go back to that bit that's damaged. And there's a build-up of, I can't remember what it is. I did tell us, but it was ages ago, and I've slept since then in the mold and infirm. So there's a physical part in the brain that gets damaged. Mm-hmm. Going down to a certain depth and staying there obviously causes the nitrogen in your oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
And the nitrogen gets into your brain. Obviously, if you go there too long, you get the bends and shit
like that. Yeah.
So what happens with that nitrogen gets into the brain, it gets rid of that thing that's grown around the nerve ends. It gets rid of it. Now, I know a guy who went through it, and what he suffered was, right, you're going out to, I can't remember if it's Bahamas or Bermuda, I think it's Bahamas. So you're going out there for a week. And if you said that to someone, they'd just think, fucking hell, he's going on holiday for a week.
Yeah.
He went out there for a week and it was fucking doing this every day. And he showed me the video evidence, let's call it. He had to do a video diary. And at the beginning of the week, he was in clip. He was absolutely in bits.
Right.
End of the week, completely different person. Passing all the tests for PTSD.
No way.
And it was literally, they have people coming to them from the UK, from America, not just veterans. They've got police going down there. They've had sexually assaulted victims go down there and do it, and it's got rid of their PTSD and stuff like that. So there's been a lot more research into that. It's more or less like the hyperbaric chambers.
Yeah.
doing the same thing with that. I had a guy from America on who he was a bobsledder, and because of the micro concussions, it causes damage to the brain that can't be seen. But it's very, very similar effects to like PTSD and stuff like that.
Huh?
But the downside of that is that it can't be diagnosed while you're alive, because it can only be diagnosed post-mortem. But what they found is using hyperbaric pressure chambers helps. Absolutely helps. Even the guys with PTSD, it absolutely helps, because it does a similar type of thing. And they start to become popular over here. And the MOD has now admitted that, we all suffered micro concussions in our time in the military. They denied it or didn't recognise it before. Then late last year, they said, it's actually a thing. From some of the small arms fire.
Really?
Yeah. You want to look it up, because it's. I don't want to go into it too much on here, because this is your stuff, not that. But look it up.
You know the line of concussions, being a brain injury setting off PTSD symptoms.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
What's your plans for the future then?
So at the minute, got my finger in all kinds of pies, but a big part of that is going around talking to veterans organisations, businesses, and serving soldiers about my experiences, sort of more in depth into mental health, the stigma, the recovery process, what it all is, spreading information. Lots of that, lots of appearances here, there and everywhere, doing lots of exciting things that people will just have to stay tuned for to see, because I can't divulge too much, but it's looking very bright is the future. Very orange.
You sound very, very, very positive.
I am. You've got to be. Good things happen to you if you are.
If you could go back to before you joined the army and talk to yourself, what advice would you give yourself?
Ooh, bloody hell. I would say, honestly, I wouldn't change a thing except for the fact that I didn't speak up. The fact that I didn't say anything to anyone and I bottled it all up, that caused me the problem. If I'd have said to somebody, I'm experiencing this, that would have been a quick conversation and a little, just take a breather, mate, and it would have been good.
I just remember the question.
Go on.
Sorry. In the boat, you mentioned something, and I'd never give it a thought, really. And I had heard it mentioned previously, but again, I'd never really give it a thought. The way you put it was quite good about moral injury.
Yeah, that was a big part of my recovery.
So that was kind of a breakthrough for you, wasn't it?
Yeah. So a moral injury is where, right, let's start beginning. So when we're young, we develop our core beliefs. So I think it's like between 3 and 7 or something like that. What's good, what's right, what's wrong, what's bad, all that sort of stuff. And a moral injury is where you do something that bypasses those core beliefs, when you do something that contradicts them. So hence for me, growing up knowing that killing somebody is bad, this is obviously a simple version of it, and then going and killing somebody, think for the greater good, for, what I truly believe was a good cause, but also believed that wasn't, at my core, something that is right to do. That caused me a moral injury. And in the book, I go on about how this sort of goes back to the Crusades, medieval times, where soldiers would atone for their sins and spend like a year in penance, being around their families, reconnecting with love, compassion, in order to move on from the battlefield. And there's absolutely something to that. Compassion and love, especially self-love, that's really, really important.
Yeah.
Really important. There's so much we could sit here for weeks on end, non-stop, going into it all. There's loads of elements like the inner child method of meditation. That's some extremely powerful stuff. We'll be here forever. So go get the book if any of that resonated with you. It's available all over the place, or signed copies direct from me, tedshirley.co.uk.
And we will get them links out on the podcast, don't worry. And honestly, it's the best audio book I've listened to, honestly. And
thanks,
again, I'll finish the podcast. I started it. I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I did enjoy that. I really, really did. I only listen when I'm driving back to and from work. You know what I mean? Yeah.
A lot of people I've seen are doing that.
It took me a while to get through it because it's like, it's only 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there.
Yeah.
But I quite look forward to getting in. Audible on. There you go. And I enjoyed it. And I recommend anyone to go out and order it, get it.
Thank you, mate.
Audible, it's on. I didn't realise it was on Spotify as well.
Yeah, don't tell anyone that because I don't get any money for it.
Cut that bit out. Ignore that bit. No one gets this far into the podcast. Don't worry about it.
Cut. I need to make a living as well as being nice.
Yeah. I wish I'd known that beforehand. Right. Thanks for coming on, mate. I really enjoyed it.
My pleasure.
I wish you all the luck in the future. Hope everything. I mean, it sounds like everything's going to work out for you. All right.
Who bloody knows? I'm certainly going to try my best. And
that's all you can do, isn't it? You're so positive that.
That is it. That is it. Positivity is key. Keep smiling, people.
Right. Cheers, mate. I'll end the recording now.
Take care.
I hope you enjoyed that podcast. I enjoyed recording it. If you could just hit the like button, and also if you could subscribe and hit the notification bell, that'd be great because it'll help the channel grow. The more people will see it, the bigger it'll get, and the more guests I can get on, and the more people I can talk to. Well, I hope you enjoyed it, like I said. Look forward to the next one. Hopefully, we'll be out next week as normal. Bye-bye now.